Next up for Hot Stoxx is the show where we discuss JSE-listed companies and tell you the one thing that counts.
Are they hot or are they not hot? That's basically it.
That's it. And our goal is to bring you actionable trade ideas. You can receive these by going to
www.followhotstoxx.com. It's our mailing list.
The reality show, the profit tracker, Paul. We've had a little bit of a downturn, haven't we?
Yeah, a bit of a heavy fall overnight, but that was because in the course of our trading day, we saw everybody getting anxious that the debt ceiling, US standstill, whatchamagwadja thing wasn't getting resolved. So, you know, we'll now see what happens next.
So you're not overly concerned?
No, do I look like a man who's worried? Not at all.
You never look as though you're worried. Let's have a look at that profit tracker. Where are we at the moment?
So we slipped below the 150,000 Rand mark. I think we're at 147, 148, 149. You know, you'd think I would know these numbers intimately, like I'm watching them all day. But in reality, what I do is we buy these positions, and then I forget about them because I assume they're going up.
So I'm hoping we can get that number up there just to verify. I believe it is coming up in a moment. There we go.
147.
Well, you were choosing a higher number. You thought you'd get away with it at 147,661. Where did we get most
Well, I
bullish?
suspect we'll be rebounding today because remember we've had the Janet Yellen news, blah, 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 and we'll see some of the positions. Heavy downfall yesterday in Netcare, which is a stock which was very significantly up in recent days. So I just think...
Janet Yellen is now suddenly, she's rocketed to the most powerful woman in the world.
Fantastic. Isn't that wonderful?
It is
perfect
brilliant.
for the job, and I think the market likes it. Although these are still trying times, I think we're going to have to wait until a resolution on the whole Republican versus Democrat thing, and then we'll see the market bounce heavily.
What did we do best on in terms of the portfolio?
I think we were up on just about nothing. If I had to guess, I'd say it was the Goldfields short position, because with everything going down, that at least bounced and made us...
So the Goldfields short...
a princely sum of 81 Rand and 60 cents.
Wow, shooting the lights out on that front. Amazing. Now, on the downside, though, and this is relevant with Gerbrand joining us a little later, Netcare.
There you go. That's the Netcare position. So that's the position that we've got that fell, I don't know, from 25 Rand something a share down to 24 Rand something. I only find these things out the next day. What can I tell you?
Now, just one thing. I was watching Share Shootout last night, and Bruce Whitfield said he was going to have us on the show, and he built up to the fact that we were going to then, at the end, the whole gig was about the fact that you'd run out of time. It was lame, Bruce Whitfield. Game on. All right. And we're talking about the logistics sector.
Yeah, let's go to it.
Well, as Paul said, we're discussing the logistics sector with a focus on Bidvest, Imperial, Grindrod, Supergroup and OneLogix. Our guest, Gerbrand Smit from NEFG Fund Managers, and Paul Turan, our resident expert from Vestact. What would the show be without Paul Turan? Logistics, gentlemen, where are we on this front?
Look, my approach to the market's very simple. There are some industries that are going to grow at sort of double GDP. I would say logistics is in that space. Why? Because everybody wants to outsource everything these days. Conversely, you get other parts of the economy like telecommunications, which are going to grow at like 3 times GDP, and then other industries like cigarettes, which are going to grow at half the rate at which GDP does. So all of that adds up to a very positive investment environment for these logistics companies.
Gerbrand, your input?
Now, look, I think these guys were feasting on rail not being in South Africa operational anymore, almost. So certainly, I think in the past they've been growing handsomely. It is a cyclical business, though, so don't be scared when you see some of these margins contracting over time and returning over time as well. We've been in a long chase of great margins for these companies, and they're sitting at record profits.
Well, Bidvest is a South Africa-based investment holding company with subsidiaries operating in distribution services and trading businesses and a large food service business in Europe. Bidvest has a market cap of 83.8 billion Rand, price-to-earnings ratio of 16.6, dividend yield of 2.4%, and, of course, Brian Joffe, also worthy of mention.
Absolutely. He's the guy that put this whole group together. It's now a global titan, and he's all been down to him. He's spectacularly good at investment allocation decisions, both purchases of business as well as deciding which ones to feed more capital to and to encourage and which to sort of shut down or slim down or shove into some other entity. They've gone global. They bought businesses in Asia and Australia and the UK and continental Europe when everybody else thought that they were just, throwaway operations. Put it all together, they've become and emerged as a global giant in food services. I mean, second only to a couple of people like Sodexo and Cisco and others. So it's a fabulous operation. He himself remains key to it all, but he has evolved and developed further leadership talent around him here in their headquarters in Melrose Arch.
Your history with Bidvest, Gerbrand, have you done well from the stock previously?
Yeah, look, this is one of the winners on the local bourse over time. I think return from it started return on equity and assets of 20 plus per year, every year. Certainly one of the star performers. I think the original business that he bought was Chipniks or Chipkins or something.
Chipkins, yeah.
Chipkins.
And then, yeah, he's branched out to all other industries as well. You got travel in there, you got Cormier Steak, you got on the Auto McCarthy side, they're selling cars, they got logistics, they got a huge food business, as Paul said.
And the big argument is whether there will be value unlock if you break up Bidvest. Paul, you've heard the story banded about.
That is one argument, and I think we quite like investments like that because you're right, the sum of the parts in the end obviously could well be greater than the current entity, and that's because the market goes through these cycles of liking and then not liking the conglomerate. At the moment we're in one of those long eras where people prefer focused entities that they can compare to each other, compared to their global peers. So that's why I think in the long run, whether it's in 5 or 10 years' time, it's possible that if Brian is retired, if his successors are of the view more that it's a question of unlocking shareholder value, that they may look at such issues. Because some of those global giants in those industries might come looking for and shopping for those particular businesses and be prepared to pay a substantial premium for them. So definitely not out of the question.
Potential upside to the Bidvest story, Gerbrand.
Yeah, look, only time will tell. We think industrials are a bit expensive. 16p is not too expensive for this business, but historically it is a bit on the rich side, probably close to what fair value would be for these companies. But I think if these guys do unbundle their food business, it would certainly probably create a lot of upside. The positive here is that they got more than 50% Rand hedge exposure as well, and I think that was what saved their previous results. But certainly you'll probably have to look at the next sets of results first.
And we are expecting a weaker Rand, according to all the experts going forward. So that Rand hedge quality is important. Hot or not, Paul?
Look, I remember when they were trading at 20 Rand a share, and people said, well, look, this guy's done well, and he's a bright lad, but, you know, who knows what he can do next. Now they're at 260, 10 times higher in about 10 years. So that's a fabulous investment. We've been accumulating these for client portfolios for the last 4 or 5 years. We like them very much. We think it's going higher, even if it does no reorganization and just continues to opportunistically buy bits and pieces of businesses. So definitely for me, hot. Definitely fitting into this trend of a rising and improving sectoral exposure. Definitely
Gerbrand, hot or not?
Short term not hot, long term hot.
Imperial. Am I allowing you to do that? Let's go with the short term, not hot.
Okay,
Is that
fine.
right? Imperial was founded by Bill Lynch and has businesses in logistics, car rental, tourism, financial services, vehicle distribution and retail. Imperial operates in South Africa, Africa, Europe and Australia. The company has a market cap of 46.4 billion rand, dividend yield of 3%, a price to earnings ratio of 12.4, and Hubert Brody has just announced that he is stepping down.
Yeah, look, it's a bit disappointing. He's another friend of mine. He wants to spend more time with his kids who are young. They're at junior school, and I think when he got the job after Bill Lynch died, he was very balk for it and went into it full ball and realized after 6 years of exhausting travel and intensive pressure at that level that that's not exactly what he wants to do with his life right now.
Bottom line, he's exhausted.
Well, I think he is also one of those very balanced and thoughtful people that realizes there isn't only one way to live your life. And after 6 years of doing that, he's kind of said, listen, someone else can come in here and burn fast and hard, and I'm going to take a break. So all credit to him. I don't think it reflects on either him or the business negatively. Positively, I think there's some talented
It's
management
fantastic
divisions.
when somebody chooses balance.
Yeah, no, you've got to hand it to him.
We have to celebrate
All credit
that.
to him.
Gerbrand, does this impact your investment decision around Imperial at all?
No, I don't think so. I think they got quality management all around. There will be somebody that can take over the reins on that side. I think originally we thought that when Bill Lynch died, that's going to be a huge problem as well. Brody stepped up to the equation. It's certainly a nice group of companies. They've done under his helm, very good. They've stripped out the leasing business, which is very capital intensive, in the names of Equestria, which also looks a bit probably cheapish at the moment as a share price itself. But I think they've done brilliantly over time.
The share price looks fantastic. I don't think you can fault that performance. So we had an all-time high.
I believe so. I mean, the other part of the business, though, you do have to keep a careful eye on is the motor distributorships and retail, because remember, that is a bit of a fair weather business. I mean, South Africans absolutely love cars. Everybody loves cars here, so they sell well, but they do go through these periods where they sell a little bit too well, and then, you know, you have a big stock and a big build-out, and then things go badly for a while. So that introduces extra cyclicality to the business. I would, in a way, prefer if it was more about imperial freight logistics and, you know, moving stuff for Woolworths and moving stuff up and down, in and out of Hamburg and that fantastic German business they've got.
I'm sure they're not going to change the business model specifically for you.
Well, you'd think so.
So live with it.
But remember, they threw out lots of stuff. Financial services used to be big here. They gave all that off to Nedbank. They got rid of Extra, as Gerbrand is saying. Lately, they've been adding motor distributorships and other stuff in there, you know, like Segway licenses and so on. I quite like that stuff too. The general direction of the business here, I do like.
Hot or not on Imperial, Gerbrand?
Too cyclical at this stage. So we're going to go not hot.
Paul, hot or not?
No, hot on it too. Hot, hot, hot.
Grindrod operates in 4 divisions, namely freight services, shipping, trading and financial services. It took on Remgro as a 22% shareholder after a rights issue in November 2011. It has a market cap of 15.3 billion rand, PE ratio of 19.6 and a dividend yield of 1.2%. Interesting one, Grindrod Bank. A lot of diversified elements to the company as well as the other industrials, but the financial services side has always been a little bit of a question mark.
Well, it's certainly adding something fresh and new. It's quite small, but they have that relationship now with the National Pension Payout System, which looks like it could hold some potential. Plus, Dave Polkinghorne's built a nice private client business in there too. But really, the business is about logistics, shipping, and you know, commodity trading. Over the years, they did very well and had great timing. Recently, it's a little tougher. But fortunately, they've worked themselves away from the successive dependence on the commodity cycle and on the shipping cycle, which is very, very up and down. So by adding all these logistics-related and port and handling and freight businesses, they've certainly improved the quality of earnings.
But looking at that share price around about 24 Rand, value managers out there that bet on this way back then must be smiling today, Gerbrand?
Yeah, look, it's one of the
little
ones that we've actually held over time, or 1 or 2 years back at 14 Rand, I think we acquired some of it. Remgro, I think, acquired at the same time, and that makes this thing interesting. We know they took a huge chunk. They're starting to buy from Grindrod's side parts of some of the agricultural commodity businesses in South Africa. You saw 1 or 2 deals going through in the last year or two. That's interesting, so they're going to do those shippings and transport of that. They have certainly diversified well over time, I think.
But can they go higher?
I think so. This is a turnaround story. This thing's revenue were about 4 billion 4 years back. It's currently 1 billion, so certainly its pressure has been felt on this group, and I think it's a bit of a recovery story as well. So certainly used to do more than 2 Rand earnings a share. It's currently much lower than 1 Rand a share, so certainly I think it will pull the PE back and the share price will
Paul, this one I'm sure didn't catch your eye at 14 Rand.
No, it didn't, and the reason it didn't is because you could see that in 2006-07 it did spectacularly well because it made all those clever decisions about building ships when no one else wanted them, and then the commodity cycle was strong and the trading businesses did well as the shipping businesses. Unfortunately, it took a very serious punch to the face in 08-09, and then it became apparent just how dependent they were on cyclical factors in terms of their earnings. However, since then, the Remgro thing comes on board. They don't put a foot wrong in all these other things they've been doing, and they've delivered good, slightly better than expected earnings. They're also a stock that has a lot of retail and semi-retail investor support. So stock that's made a lot of people a lot of money. So there are not a lot of sellers.
But you
around.
have missed the boat.
No, and in fact, we thought we should be short this stock. We were short this one at around 21, 22. We got blown out. Now it's at 24, 25. So I don't know. I remain a little bit skeptical, but I will concede that we've been wrong on this, and others that have been long it have been right.
Gerbrand, hot or not?
Still going to go hot on it.
Paul, hot or not on Grindrod now? considering your messy past with it?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to give it the hot on account of all the steady progress management's been making in diversifying the earnings revenue base.
Coming up after the break, we discuss Supergroup and OneLogix, as well as get our trade of the day, the hottest idea flowing from our conversation. It's posted on www.followhotstocks.com. Don't go anywhere. Supergroup was founded in 1986 by Larry Lipschitz and focuses on fleet management, supply chain logistics and car dealerships. It has a market cap of 7.7 billion rand, price to earnings ratio of 11.7 and currently pays no dividends. What's the story with Supergroup these days?
Gerbrand, do you want to take this one?
That's fine. It's been a turnaround story. A few years back, the guys had to raise capital through rights issues, etc., and a few fund managers stepped in and helped the guys. They've done brilliantly from management team. This thing has been turned around, balance sheet's been restored, and it's certainly pumping at the moment. They opened up Australian businesses as well, and they're flourishing at the moment as well. So you're getting a bit of Africa, a bit of Australia, and then South African logistic business. On the car sales side, they don't make much money on that particular item. I think it's about 25% of revenue, though, but I don't think it's as cyclical as some of the other guys would be. And it probably won't take the earnings so much away when earnings do fall away. The rand hedge is, of course, as well about 40% in this company.
So a great turnaround story here, Paul.
Very spectacular. Look, it really fell heavily in that period because they had built so many new vehicle distributorships. They had that thing called Extreme 16, I think it was, or something like that out there in the Four Ways area. The flagship stores. They had a disaster in Angola where they lost a whole fleet of Toyota Corollas. They got scammed there badly. The financing wasn't great. The debts were high. They had very, very expensive rights issues, which Alan Gray, to their credit, stepped up and took the stock. And the new management team under Peter Mountford, who I think is an ex-Imperial guy, have really just sort of gone back to basics, cleared out a lot of the rubbish, just tried to focus on profitable business. They let some stuff run off, but they remain a big player in the logistics and supply chain management business, the vehicle leasing and fleet management business, and then, as Gerbrand says, the offshore side of things is quite a good contributor. So net, looking good. I've been saying for a while, I think it needs to either get bought by someone or add a whole lot of new business or just, do something to get to a higher level, because what we've seen now has been the recovery story. Now we need to see where it can take itself as a business.
Gerbrand, does it need to do something?
Yeah, look, they've done a few small acquisitions as well, but most guys in this industry has been acquiring some of the transport companies out there. So yeah, I think organically they're still growing okay. I think if you look at the latest sets of numbers, they were still growing at about 20% per annum and for the 6 months. So yeah, it's a nice little niche company at the moment, but it all depends on what happens to the consumer and of course, transport in South Africa.
Paul, hot or not on this?
I like this space. As I said before, I've got a friend who's the CEO of a brands business, and it turns out they have nothing. They have a head office.
You've got friends in every nook and cranny.
Yeah, Malcolm Hyland's his name, and he runs this business called Inco Labs, and they've got nothing. All they've got is a bunch of guys sitting in an office. All of the distribution, warehousing, and merchandising gets done on an outsourced basis. And they own huge brands, all the pharma brands, bunch of coffee brands, all sorts of stuff. So it's just another example of how attractive this space is. Competitive, yes, but attractive. So I'm going to go with hot as well.
Gerbrand, do you give it the hot?
Yeah, I think Australia got some legs, so I'm going to go hot with it.
OneLogix Group has been listed on the JSE Altex since mid-2004. The branded services include vehicle delivery services, commercial vehicle delivery services, RFB logistics, Atlas, panel beaters, OneLogix projects, Postnet and Magazine. The company has a market cap of 752 million rand, price to earnings ratio of 14.5 and a dividend yield of 2.2%. So all those divisions are relevant, Paul, when it comes to unlocking the business.
I love it when you do this sort of sales pitch for the company. Look, it is a well put together operation. Ian Lawrence, the CEO, has done a great job of bringing management in, making them responsible for divisions, shifting them around. A couple of the businesses look a little bit tired, like Magazine. Who's reading paper magazines anymore these days? But to be fair, it probably chips in. The major business here is that commercial vehicle delivery services. So it is those funny-looking trucks that the cars drive onto, and then they get transported around the country. That turns out to be quite a high-margin business, and they're the dominant player there.
Gerbrand, you excited about this story?
Yeah, look, this is an Africa vehicle transporter company, mostly, as Paul said. So that's the call you must make here, and you must make a choice if Africa is still going to export and import cars from various ports and local manufacturers in South Africa, and I think the answer is yes there.
I think emphatically yes there. I don't see any slowing down across the board in Africa.
Yeah, the other side of the business, of course, is I think about 30 or 40% of the business is of course, the 250 post nets that's around the country, and that's very much GDP related in South Africa. So that might be a difficult time for them, but we know that, like some of these, on the other business side, you're actually feasting on rail, and on this side you're probably feasting on the post office in South Africa. So
well, of course, as you say, linked to GDP, Postnet, Praveen Gordon recently saying we're in for 2% growth this year, Paul. So that, as Gabrand was saying, doesn't augur well for Postnet within the OneLogic's fold.
2% this year, 4% next year, who knows? As far as Postnet's concerned, I think that is a good business, because remember, more and more people are going to be wanting to shop online. I see that they have a tie-up now with DHL. So I just think South Africans are a bit backwards when it comes to, online buying and then, logistics, delivery and that sort of thing. I think this is going to be a growing business. In countries like America and in the United Kingdom, you have these ubiquitous FedEx, UPS, DHL type businesses, so people shop online a lot. In South Africa, it's still in its infancy, but you've no doubt noticed people doing credit card deliveries, little parcels from Kalahari.net, little parcels from Kitchen, Yuppie, Chef, and all this kind of thing. So I just think it's going to get larger, and OneLogic's is well positioned.
The credit card delivery market is cornered by CCV Couriers or something. Surely you've had cards delivered from them.
Everybody's got a courier business because it's a relatively easy business to start, but I think there's plenty for everybody to go around, and the more complex and big end it gets. Remember, for all those courier companies, you get guys like Imperial flying planes overnight between Joburg, Durban and Cape Town, putting the back end into those businesses.
Hot or not, Gabrand?
Yeah, I'm going to go hot. They recently acquired some of their BE shareholding back as well, so you'll probably get an increase in earnings per share, etc.
Paul, hot or not on OneLogic's?
Yeah, I think so too. As I said, Ian Lawrence is a good-looking CEO. He presents well. He's done good.
Of course, we must invest in those companies that have good-looking CEOs.
No, what I
That's your number one.
He sells the company well. Look, you must go on Google Images and see what I mean when I say he's a good-looking CEO. You may not in that exact sense, but I just think that he's likely to attract additional investment inflows on account of the way he speaks convincingly for the operation.
Time now for Trade of the Day. So the trade of the day, what do you have up your sleeve?
Well, I think we're going to have to go with Grindrod, which is amazing because we've been short Grindrod in this portfolio before, but Gabrand made such a compelling case that I think we have to do that one. We'll go with Grindrod.
Gabrand, it's not often that people manage to twist his arm into a position that he has actually taken the opposite of previously. So well done to you.
Thank you.
Was it a tough job?
No, it's normally a tough job to convince Paul to buy something that he's not holding at the moment, so yes, it was.
But I think the earnings have been great. We've been seeing sequential progress there, and Remgro being in the background, hoovering up maybe shares every now and then, and just supporting the stock creates a positive backdrop.
Well, gentlemen, that's it for Hot Stoxx. Thanks to our guest, Gabrand Smit from NEFG Fund Managers and our resident expert, Paul Theron from Vestac. Now, Paul, just before we go to the screen, the summary board, I see you're not being drawn on this war that's unfolding with Bruce Whitfield. You're remaining very quiet on it. Why? You're nervous?
No, I never fight with my friends on air. Never, never, never.
Oh, give me a couple of weeks and I'll rev you up on that front. Let's go to that summary board of our guests' ratings of the stocks that were discussed today. And, of course, to receive the email and SMS updates of the Trade of the Day, register www.followhotstocks.com. Do we know who's going to lunch with you yet?
No, I've been avoiding looking at that list because I know you've now solved the idea of me going to lunch. So I'm hoping that it's hovering at 5,999.
I'm going to do a double check. If you'd like to send us feedback or suggest stocks for us to discuss in future shows, contact Paul directly on Twitter. His username @Paul_Vestact. And you can also follow me on @Bronwyn Nielsen. From the team, goodbye.